Sales culture is very interesting. It's the most neurotic sport, if I can say sport, that I know of. So you bring in talented people. If I'm a sales manager, I convince you that you're going to make $300,000 a year selling my product. First year, I did it out of the gate. You should be able to do it as well, right? These are all the things we try to do. And so we have to stop exaggerating, because we bring people in, they don't hit our expectations, and then there's a feeling of loss. One of the things that we know from studying the brain is that a feeling of being treated unfairly is a #1 reason why we get depressed, right? A feeling of like, that's not fair, right? We all say these things. Our kids sometimes say these things like, that's not fair. And we say life isn't fair, right? But we don't really mean that. So creating a culture of fairness, of fair expectations, really goes a long way to doing that. One thing we haven't done really well as sales management is addressing the head issues. So we know that the head, what goes on between our ears, is where most of success comes from. But how many of our organizations provide therapy to our salespeople? I mean, seriously, think this through. When have we said, look, you can take 60 minutes, we're going to pay for it, a therapist, and you can spill your beans, fix what's going on between your ears, and come back to the office ready to be a high performer. We don't do those things. In fact, we'll give you health care, we'll give you these benefits. We won't fix. I actually recommend that we make sure we take care of the head games. Underperforming high achievers aren't underperforming because they don't want to achieve. It's because all the other crap in their life is distracting them from what's really going on. Issues with wife, issues with finances, issues with kids. These are all the things that take your eye off the prize. Issues with being audited, things like that, that really you're focused on trying to do something that's great, and then you've got these things that are just kind of in the back of your head distracting you from what you really want to do. And so you get annoyed, you underperform, and it's a cycle of madness because the sales manager comes in and says, you know what you're doing and you don't care, and starts making these broad assertions that aren't really true. The second thing I would say is most sales managers aren't great sales managers. A lot of these guys are great salespeople who've grown into the management ranks. And so I think one thing that sales managers can do is manage, coach, train, teach. Don't try to be the best sales guy in the room. You're not, probably. There's probably some sales guys who can outsell you, right? So don't try to be like, oh, I did this back in the 1980s. Times are changed, right? Times are different. So coach, and if you're not ready to be in that position, then don't be in the position. Go back out and be a cowboy selling your product, right? But I think we need to do more to address the head issues. Most of the time, when an underperforming department is not working right, it's the fact that it's all in the head. And by targeting this, by addressing this, everything else follows. We can do things like clanging a bell and going on vacations when we hit numbers, but all that's really skin deep, right? It's all fluff. When you address the mental aspects of selling, all of a sudden you notice that regardless of a vacation or not, people are performing. Look, a good salesperson will do what's best for their company, right? A great salesperson will do what's best for their customer. But a superstar, right, which is what all these organizations want, does what's best for themselves, which is great because that's what's best for the company and what's best for the buyers. And the only way that happens is when you fix what goes on in the head.